Hey guys, we're back to another video. Today we're talking about severe weather in today's video because there's a risk for some severe weather up in the Northeast. So let's get into today's video. Okay, so we are looking at the latest discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. This was actually just issued. Luckily, I was able to show you this before making the video. This just got released here. Um, Severe wind gusts and perhaps a couple of tornadoes will be possible as it moves into parts of New Jersey, then moving up maybe near New York City near. So there will be a threat of some tornadoes here potentially here, as you can see. There is a tornado watch in effect, as you can see. This is for parts of Washington, D.C. and everything. They said a few tornadoes likely, scattered damaging wind gusts up to 70 possible. Here are the counties, probabilities here, um, warnings. There are a few tornado warnings, as you can see. So this was initial radar. This is public radar here. Um, so yeah. Let's look at our other tornado watch here. This one says a few tornadoes likely with a couple intense tornadoes possible. So that's something that we haven't seen in a little while. Scattered damaging wind gusts likely, isolated significant gusts up to 75 possible. Counties, probabilities, 70% chance of tornadoes, that's pretty high. High enough to have that color highlighted in there, as you can see. So yeah, I don't know why I did that. This was initial radar. This is public radar. Sorry about that. So yeah. So let's look at the day one graphical weather outlook here. And we have a enhanced risk of severe weather for parts of the Northeast, as you can see. Uh, so we have marginal, and then a marginal down here, and a marginal down or up there. Then we have two areas for a slight right in this area here, and a slight for right up here. Then we have the enhanced risk, like I just said, uh, here for parts of Washington D.C. near parts of those areas potentially seeing a enhanced risk of severe weather today. So before we get too far into it, let's actually look at the weather predictions day one outlook here. And we have, as you can see, a marginal over here, marginal risk down here, marginal risk over here, and then a marginal risk for up here. Then we have a few slight risks for over here, near Florida, and then up here in the Northeast. And then we see a moderate to even high risk of flash flooding for parts of New York and all the way from West Virginia all the way to Rhode Island about. And that's a pretty big high risk of flash flooding here. So if you're in those areas, you want to be watching out for some flash flooding. Actually, flash flooding likely potentially in those areas. So you're going to have to watch it because we don't see high risk flash flooding very often. They said flash flooding is likely in their latest discussion. So flash flooding is likely in these areas, so if you're in any of these areas, just if you see any water, just try to turn around. Don't drown if you're in a car or uh, in a house. You probably not experience flash flooding, but if you see flash flooding on the roads and stuff, just don't go into it. A lot of our deaths are coming from flooding because people drive out on the flood roadways and sadly that's how they die because they don't realize that floods are pretty dangerous because they can drag your car off the ground and stuff. So let's get back to talking about the severe weather here. We see a 2% chance of tornadoes right for Nebraska and South Dakota. And then we see another 2% here for parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up to near Massachusetts, Rhode Island, some of those areas, seeing a 2% chance of tornadoes. Then we have a 5% chance of tornadoes here for parts of North Carolina, Virginia, all the way up to near Rhode Island, near Connecticut. And then a 10% chance of tornadoes right in this area where Washington, D.C. is. Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey, and parts of Pennsylvania too. And that's a 10% chance of tornadoes here. We don't have zig, means significant tornadoes possible, but I'm kind of surprised they put in the watch information some intense tornadoes possible, but they didn't put zig on their outlook. So I'm a little surprised about that, but we're gonna have to watch that. Let's look at the wind outlook here, and we see we have 5, and then 15% chance over here, a 5% chance down here, and then we have 5, 15, and a 30% chance of wind here. So we have a tornado and wind-driven enhanced risk. Biggest area for damaging wind will be in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware and Maryland. Sorry, it took a minute for me to remember. So, for the biggest risk of wind, 30% chance of wind possible. Day 1 hail outlook here. We have no hail risk for parts of this area over here. But we do see a hail risk of 5 to 15% chance here for these areas here in Nebraska and South Dakota for some hail possible. Let's look at the day 2 categorical outlook here. We see we have a big marginal risk, probably a slight risk will probably be somewhere in here by day 1. Sometime probably in day 1 we'll probably see one, but if not, still there's a marginal risk of severe weather, isolated severe storms possible. Tornado outlook is a 2% chance actually for parts of Nebraska and Kansas. That 2% is still pretty significant for tornadoes, the no risk. And then the hail risk here, we have a 5% chance for parts of Kansas and Nebraska here. And then we look at the wind threat, and we see a big area of a 5% chance of wind potentially. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch for all threats tomorrow, but they're gonna be mainly isolated. Tornado 2, maybe some isolated hail and winds tomorrow. So, but nothing too big, not like a tornado outbreak or a severe weather outbreak. And then day 3, we have a pretty big marginal risk. It kind of looks like a C here. If you look at it very closely, it looks like a C. And you can see it goes all the way from near South Dakota and Wyoming all the way to Kansas City, Missouri. So, yeah, all the way to Missouri, marginal risk severe weather in the C shape. As you can see, so it includes near Denver, too. So, yeah. Now, let's look at the models now. Let's see what the NAM 3K is showing here. Sorry about that. We have some storms continuing over the next few hours in these areas, with flash flooding being one of the biggest threats. Maybe a few tornadoes and damaging wind too. All threats with these storms. As they continue over the next hour, we're gonna look better about it on pivotal weather here. So, yeah. Okay. Let's look at the bulk shear here. First of all, because there is potentially a tornado risk today. There's about 60, 70 knots here, even 80 knots here on the NAM 3K is shown. A pretty significant tornado chance here for parts of these areas, even going all the way up here to near Connecticut and Rhode Island, about 62. All you need is about, I think, it's 40 knots or more, and we have well more than enough of that here for parts of the Northeast, so we're going to have to be concerned for a tornado risk anywhere in this area today, potentially. Let's look at the significant tornado parameter here. I would think this would be high with that much shear. It shows actually a 1.9, 2.3, probably because most of the storms are down here at this time. So most of the storms are around this area down there. So that's why we have not that big a chance of significant tornadoes at this time. So let's go a little bit more forward when it moves more northeast. Let's go to 2 hours later. We got 2 hours later, and we still have about quite a bit, even some 90 knots of tornadoes here, or no, wind shear, sorry. Oh, even 100 knots Wow, that's pretty big for severe weather. Let's see on significant tornado parameter here. It looks like there was some storms around that area, so there is a potential for some tornadoes and maybe even a significant tornado. I'm not gonna say that area will see a significant tornado, but it's possible. Um, we could today around that area. Let's look at the soundings here. Just a little bit of soundings right now. This just thinks severe. Um, let's see here. Look at the Cape, most unstable 5,000. D Cape is native 8, so not much of a damaging wind threat. You want more D Cape for damaging wind. Not the most high of lapse rates here, but maybe a little bit of hail threat, but there's no hail threat expected though. Supercell composite is 14.7. That's pretty high. SRH needs to be, I think, 250 or more. And we actually have higher than that here, so there is a decent chance of maybe a few tornadoes here. I wonder what this says here. So we're going to have to watch that very, very closely. Let's look a little more south there. South of that area that I just did the sounding on. Let's see what this says. Tornado by parts of New Jersey. Let's see here. State or the Cape is 1,700. Most unstable 1,900. D Cape 378. Lapse rate's not the most high for hail and stuff. Supercell 13.8. SRH is pretty high, so a tornado risk is possible 250 or more, and there's more than 250 here, so a possible tornado risk here we're going to have to watch for. Let's just okay, so let's actually, I didn't really look at this quite yet. The Cape, I picked the wrong Cape. The most, or surface-based Cape here. Probably the reason why they don't think there will be a tornado risk here, because I guess it shows there's not much Cape more north you go. So where the tornado, or where the more of the wind shear is, there's not that much shear, actually none at all showing up here. So that's why we don't have a tornado risk up there. See, most of it's in southern New Jersey here of Cape here. Let's look at the soundings. I went a little bit back to about what time it is now, just to see what it looks like. This is a tornado threat. Quite a bit. Cape 3,000 joules per kilogram. D Cape 691, so probably some damaging wind possible. Quite a bit for hail, but I don't think we're going to see hail. Supercell 8.2. SRH 240 or more, and we don't quite have 250 or more, sorry. But we still see about 244, so still pretty high, but not high enough for big tornado outbreak like there. Let's look at about Maryland. So the Maryland here, tornado, 3,000 Cape, D Cape 587, so some of maybe a little bit of damaging wind threat. Supercell 12.5, SRH 250 or more. We really don't see that here, but we could still see a little bit of a tornado risk here with that. But the more north you are, the more chance of a tornado you have because there's more wind shear. But the thing is, the good thing about that is because there's not much instability making up into that region. So that's why we're not going to see much of tornado threat up here because we don't have much instability for it to work with. Here's lapse rates. Here, I think the higher you have this, the better chance you have for hail. And we don't really see much lapse rates, so they're quite low here. So we don't see much of a hail threat. That's why they didn't put that 5% out here. Let's also see if they have it on here. It might not. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is the lower this is, the better chance tornadoes are to get to the ground. The higher this is, the the lower the chance, like I said, has a better chance of tornadoes hitting the ground. The higher this is, it's harder for tornadoes to touch the ground here. And right now, the best area for it to not touch the ground is right up in this area where we have a lot of wind shear. Luckily, we have the instability on our side. That's only all the way down here, so it's not bringing it all the way up to near New York and everything. But if we did see the instability make it all the way up here, we could see because it saw a potential tornado outbreak near those areas. But as you can see, where we have those storms and instability here, we have about 766. The more north you go, the less it is. So we have a decent chance of tornadoes maybe touching the ground near New Jersey and maybe parts of Maryland, Delaware. Not very high. You want high ones like 1,000 M, but we don't see much of that here. As you can see, we see about 1,000 near Virginia. So the lower this is, the better chance tornadoes are to get to the ground. And the higher it is, the less chance tornadoes can get to the ground. So, but most of these areas have low rates here. So, we could see a few tornadoes in this region here. So, we're going to have to watch that here. Let's look at the moisture or dew points here. What we're looking at, and we see pretty high dew points. Most of it's down in this area. This became a little more north, like I said, because of the wind shear and LCL. We would potentially see a tornado outbreak, but luckily we don't have any instability or much moisture making it up there, so we're not going to see that, luckily. But we do see quite a bit of moisture down here where we have quite a bit of instability. We do have a little bit of wind shear. As we looked at the significant tornado parameter, we saw in this area had a little bit 2 to 3s on the significant tornado parameter. So we're seeing some wind shear. So yeah, we're going to have to watch because there's quite a bit of moisture down here, 75, 76. So enough for severe weather here. So yeah, we're going to have to watch that here. Let's see. Now let's. I'm gonna real quick here. Let's look here real quick. Okay, yeah, I'll show you this. This is our front. I look at this very often, or often for severe weather, because you need lift, and for lift you need a cold front here. And as you can see, we have a little bit of a warm front over here. We have a cold front up here. Um, kind of a warm front going north here. And then we see this cold front trying to move into parts of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. So that's why we're seeing severe weather, because there is some lift here for storms. So because this cold front will move in, and with that cold front, that creates lift. We have the instability, we have the moisture, we do have some shear to keep these storms uh, together, because you need wind shear to keep these storms together too. And we do have that, so that's why we could be seeing quite a bit of severe weather in this area today. The area I'd be most concerned about would be right in here. I'd be very concerned for maybe a few tornadoes today, one or two intense ones maybe. Let's look at by later today. See that cold front here, the warm front's lifting north. We see severe weather will probably be in parts of right OZ, so that's in a little bit, about 4 hours probably from now, 4 to 5 hours. So you see that cold front arriving near Virginia, North Carolina, getting close to Delaware and New Jersey. Then we look at 060 when the cold front's mainly out of here. We see most of the storms are probably going to be out of here, but a few storms maybe in New Jersey left over here by that time. So very interesting. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it's probably a little longer of a video, but I wanted to explain everything, the instability and all that, because the things you need are instability, moisture, you need wind shear, and you need lift, all for severe weather. Those are the 4 ingredients you need for severe weather, so I was showing you all of that. The cold front, the instability we have, the moisture, and the wind shear, because wind shear doesn't always mean tornadoes. It can hold storms together, like about 30 knots or more. I think can hold storms together, and 40 knots or more could create some tornadoes potentially. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. And thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.